Hey, I just launched a feature for Terminalwire that lets you open URLs from your users' terminals. Um, all right, let's get into that. So, you know what? Let's start by looking at how companies already do this. So, if you use the Stripe command line, maybe you've typed in Stripe open docs and you run that, and it opens this URL from the terminal in the web browser. So it's pretty handy. You can launch docs. You've probably also seen this to like log in. If you use Heroku, it usually opens like the login link so that you can run through the authorization workflows, and then you close it and your command line is authorized. Cool. All right. So today for the demo, for actually like how easy this is to implement, I'm going to show you a quick implementation of this for TinyZap, which is a link shortener. And all we want to do is whenever we type in TinyZap in the CLI open, we're just going to have it launch this URL. Cool. All right, let's get into it. All right, so here's our project. Let's make this a little bit smaller, clear it. All right, and just a reminder, this is kind of a normal Rails app. What's special about it though is I have Terminalwire installed on it. So if we look inside of app and terminal, we can see we have the main terminal file. And if we check this out, it's actually just a Thor client here. So this is all just Thor code. There's nothing special about it other than it's Thor. That's it. So if you've ever used Thor, you start out with kind of describing what this thing does. Looks like autocomplete already knows what I'm doing. We're going to save that. Now we have the open command. So anyway, description, back to what I was saying, we say the open command, and then here's the description of it, and then this is the implementation of it. And what browser launch does is this will actually launch the browser on your users' machines from the server. And these are just Rails URL helpers. So that is kind of a new thing. The Terminalwire helper includes all of the Rails URL helpers. It's what you'd expect from, what is it? Bin Rails routes. Put X at the end of it, that's not going to be helpful. All right, so if you run this, all of these methods are available from within the Terminalwire CLI, which again is just Thor. The special sauce here is browser.launch root URL. All right, now that we've implemented that, let's try the local TinyZap CLI to see if that shows up. There we go. So we have our open command, and let's try it. If this works, it should open localhost. And let's do it. Oops, what am I doing here? Oh, I ran the production one. So I have to run bin, which is local, to my project. All right, so I run that and it works. It opens up localhost 5900 to the root. I'm not logged in right now, so I see this page, but we'll see in production whenever I launch the root. Since I'm logged in, it'll show all of my links. All right, let's get back into here and let's deploy this actually to fly. Now the interesting thing, I'm guessing that the deployment for this is actually going to take longer than what it took for us to implement it, which is crazy. Like if you think about what it would take to implement this feature in a command line and deploy that update to all of your customers, like doing it the way that Stripe does it, it would be quite a task. You would have to probably update an API. You have to deploy that to a server, and then you have to make all these changes to the client. You have to deploy that out to all of your customers, all your users. You have to make sure that they all have the latest client too. If they don't, then that feature might not work. The difference is with Terminalwire, it's actually streaming all of these commands in standard IO from the server to a thin client. And that's a Terminalwire thin client, which picks this up immediately after it's deployed. So this is building, and I guess while it's building, I'll talk you through some of the docs and show you where that is. So if you go to terminalwire.com/docs/rails, you'll get this nice manual here. And then if we scroll down, this is the table of contents. We'll click on web browser. This is the new feature where you can launch URLs from the command line. And you can see this looks a lot like actually this is pretty much the same implementation that we just launched for TinyZap. And then this kind of covers all the stuff that I just went over. If for whatever reason you need to change default URL options, you do have that ability from Application Terminal. I think practically speaking, you would, if you changes, actually, you would probably never update this. If you did, it would probably be in application.rb, which you would probably have configured in a Rails app anyway for like sending emails. So that's kind of how that works. There is security around it too, like it can only launch HTTP or HTTPS URLs. It cannot launch file URLs or any other kind of scheme. Again, that's for security reasons. I don't want this thing to be launching files on people's workstations. All right, so let's go back. And it looks like Fly is now deploying the machines. So let's open a new terminal here and let that do its thing. And then we're going to run production Tinies app. And look at that. It picked it up. Again, I did not have to deploy any changes to the client because the command line is streamed from the server to the Terminalwire thin client. So if I run this, this should launch the root URL as it did. I have a ton of links, so it takes a while to open. And it's not quite launching because Fly's servers, I don't think, updated. There we go. All right, so I think I launched that as a server was restarting. But there we go. So it took us really like a few seconds to implement that feature to open the URL. We did not have to update any APIs. We did not have to update any clients. Again, it was all just streamed from the server to the Terminalwire thin client that's installed on people's machines. And it was quite an easy change to make. So you could also use this in other areas, such as for login. And I believe I have that implemented here. Yes. So I'm not going to get into this now, but you can see if I run tinysApp login, it'll open a pretty basic screen. It's pretty basic now, where you can approve the CLI or you can deny it. And if I hit approve, it'll actually like stick this cookie on the terminal that I can use to be logged in. So check it out. Again, the documentation is up on terminalwire.com. If you just go there, click getting started, look for a web browser, you should see everything you need to see to get that going. Happy building.